313watkins.com. Streaming on Roku.
And good morning. Welcome to a special edition of Truth to Power. I can't say the word, and always you hear me when I say special edition. This is probably a very, I can't say the word very enough, special edition of Truth to Power, because I've got my good friend, and he is also primed to be the next governor for the great state of Michigan, and that is Genesee County Sheriff Chris Swanson. So, Chris, we are very plumb pleased and pleasured to have you back here at WHPR TV here in Highland Park to be a guest on Truth to Power this morning. So, again, welcome back.
Thank you, my brother, and welcome everybody out there. It's going to be a great show.
Well, let me just start off by asking you, so how's life going for you right now?
100 miles an hour.
100 miles an hour.
I'm everywhere, though. I think that's what I think people respect more than anything is showing up, and not just one community and just staying safe. Man, I go everywhere, and I see you everywhere. You know where I'm at, and these are the kinds of things that I know is what's going to make an impact. So I drive all day, every day for just that reason.
Well, Chris, I know since the last time that you were on the show several months ago, just to kind of talk to me about how the campaign is going.
Well, it's funny for all your listeners. When I was on the show last time, it's funny because I see you pop up all over the place since then. I mean, whether it's the convention or whether it's the train station. I mean,
or the free and fun dinner.
That's it. Right, you pop up everywhere, and you got that presence about you. So I think it's funny, like once you build a relationship with somebody, you see them all over. It's like, hey, find me a red truck. Next thing you know, you see red trucks everywhere. But I would tell you, we're going to win 6 to 8 points. And I say that because of the grassroots. And I say that because of the communities that I tap into that know my authenticity and I'm real. And then on top of that, we have not only just policies that are specific to people and what their needs are, but, man, they respect the hard work. They respect the grind. And when you come from a big city like Detroit, Flint, Saginaw, Muskegon Heights, Benton Harbor, when you're forged in these communities, your work ethic stands out above everybody.
Well, I've been seeing you out and about. I know you've got upcoming events that I've saw you. I think you're going to be at the TULC, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
Coming up.
That's right.
Trade Union Labor Council.
Again, I might add.
Right.
That's it.
So let me ask you then, of all the places that you've gone to, what has probably been the one that probably has made the most impact, on your campaign as far as, say, meeting, greeting, speaking to people? What's really standing out in this campaign that you've been doing?
Well, the movement and moment is the Fox 2 debate where I debated an empty chair. By far, I hear about that every day. And then the second one is being at the convention when I walked out on stage and I said, I come in peace. And I just try to make unity. Those two stand out. And when those two are brought up, especially the one on, the debate where it's an empty stage, people remember that moment because it was kind of the visual. So those two on the big side, speaking at the DNC back in 24 is kind of like the moment that I tell people launch this whole thing when I walked out on stage. But it was just like yesterday in Ionia, the day before in Port Huron. Darren, people are crying when I'm talking to them, and they're just so filled with emotion and connection. That's why this momentum, you can't put that on a poll. The vibe that's happening out there, that's real talk.
But when you talk about people crying, what are they crying about? What are they asking you that they would like to see in their next governor here in the state of Michigan?
Well, the lady that cried on Thursday, I was at a senior village, and it's a 10-story location. And when I was talking and she raised her hand, she just said, I feel like you really do care. You're not feeding us a line of BS. I said, that's who I am, ma'am. She goes, I feel like, and then she started losing it. And she says, people just don't come to our community and care about us like you do. I mean, these folks, they're in a senior village, they don't get out and about. And a lot of these communities, the black community, the poor community, the people that get lied to by people like me, when they see real, that invokes emotion. And then yesterday, I'm in Ionia, man. They had their county fair there. That's where we were. And it was the Ionia County Dem Party, and there's probably 100 people. And I spoke, and when I got done, 'cause God's given me something inside to connect with people, even, whether it's face-to-face or over the airs like this. Her name is Kim Combs, and I sat down, and she goes, you make me cry because I know that you'll protect us. I believe in you so much. That's what makes them cry.
So when you go to places like that and you hear the passion from people that are asking you what you're going to do, talk about if you are successful in, not just we're talking about in another couple of days, but also even in November.
Right.
What's on the horizon for a Chris Swanson governorship for the first 90 days that you would be in office? What do you plan to do, and what are some of your some of the goals that you'd like to do within that first 90 days?
Well, I tell you, I'm a man of vision, and so I started a timer. I'm showing you right now, 1,400 days ago, 1,480 days ago, and now we're 161 days and 53 minutes away from taking that oath. And I do that because you prepare in peace to perform in chaos. And on that day, the first thing I'm doing is setting a tone, a new vibe, a new direction, a new excitement of state government. I don't know how the House and Senate's going to look. I have no control over that. But I do know that everything rises and falls on leadership. So the first thing you're going to see is a message of hope, inspiration, and unity. I'm tired of the division. I'm tired of the hate. I'm tired of pitting people against each other. And I can either feed into that, and I could take my cues. That's not how I roll. I'm setting the tone. And by doing what I'm doing now, winning the primary, winning the general double digits, and then going to take that office, my street credibility is already there. So me setting the tone, people will know, all right, if he says he's going to do that, he's going to do it because look what he's done. The first thing we're doing is making sure that is Q. We're going to do a 1 mile unity walk that day on 1/1/27. I don't care what the weather is. We're getting folks to walk together like we did on May 30th because there's power in walking. MLK did it. You look at what happened at any big movement. When you walk with people, you can't figure it all out, but you can walk together and work on it. But you're also going to see that protect, serve, and unify, those tenets. Everything that protects, everything that serves, everything that unifies, that is my playbook. If it doesn't do one of those threes, at least it's a non-negotiable. On the policy issue, first thing right out of the gate, we're going to Huron Valley. I have a team that's going to be dispatched, boom, right there. We have 1,800 female inmates there. I don't think there's trust in if it's being done right, if it's done wrong. I don't know. I can't get in those walls, but I'm going to tell you, day one, we got inspectors going there from Swanson's administration. Because I've been a turnkey since I was 20 years old, I know what to look for. I know when I'm getting BS'd, and I know we're going to do things right. The second thing is we're going to just do that 6-month moratorium on DT and consumers raising our rates, man. You can do that under the emergency orders of the governor through affordability. I don't know what we're paying for, and there's such a distrust with utilities, and it's a basic human right to have gas and electric so you can live. And the third thing, man, I know this is going to blow people's minds, man. I'm doing an Epstein file opening, man. We got these people that had never heard their voices, and we're going to give them their voices. So those three things, day one. First 90 days, even up to 6 months, we're going on full audit. We're going to all these different departments, and we're going to find out what works, what doesn't work, what we're doing right, what we are going to do different, whether it's transportation, education, MEDC, whether it's all those different little pockets that they plug money into. $81 billion. I think people need to realize that the governor is the CEO of the state. Right. The House and the Senate, we work on budgets, but they don't run the state. They run the legislative side, but the executive officer, just like me as a sheriff, the county board doesn't run the sheriff's office. We work together, but I run the county. We're going to go and figure out whose directorship is working well, who has failed in their position, how do we become more effective and efficient? Are we really representing, in the case, with your community right here that we're talking to? I mean, you got 1.5 million African Americans in the state of Michigan. Where's the urban agenda? What are we doing? What have we done? No disrespect to the current administration, but there's going to be a lot of questions that must be answered. and I'm a frontline guy. Like, they may call me a micromanager, but that's what I'm going to be. And we're going to pick directors and people in cabinet positions and people lieutenant governor position that are going to be effective and efficient in doing it right and represent the entire state of Michigan.
Because you've got a lot of appointed positions that you would be able to put people into. And I know you probably got a lot of people that probably are looking for those, positions. Because I remember when Governor Whitmer was put in that position, as governor, there were a lot of people that she appointed to a lot of different. But I think somebody was telling me there's over 100 positions.
200 director positions and over 2,000 committee positions in places where you can, put people on different boards and in oversight committees. Absolutely.
Well, and the other thing I want to ask you too is that when you talk about how's the family, in terms of say how's family, with all of this campaigning, all of this being away from home. Now you've got a wife and children.
Yeah.
Give a shout out to them.
Come on. I met my wife, Jamie Girl, in jail, 1993.
That's an interesting way to segue that.
See, there you go. Y'all judge it now. I started the sheriff's office June 2nd, 1993. I was 20 years old, and I've been there now 34 years. And I met Jamie Girl. She was a social worker assignment for 6 months in a drug and alcohol abuse program out of Flint. And we started dating, and 3 weeks later, I said I'm going to marry her, and I got married. Ready for this? July 23rd, 1994. So yesterday was my 32nd wedding anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
And Jamie and I drove to Ionia for that Democratic club meeting on our anniversary. So we worked it.
Do you feel like you're still on your honeymoon?
Man, honestly, she's my balance because she's opposite of me. And we it's like remember Rocky one movie where Rocky's like, you got gaps, I got gaps too. We ain't got no gaps. That's who we are. But she's great. I mean, honestly, she's been with me, and we got 2 boys that are both married. My oldest is out of state, and he's in last year dental school, married to a nurse. And my youngest is both him and his wife are business owners. Cool thing though is my boys are best friends, and they married best friends. So the Swanson 6 is complete. But to answer your question, Jamie's paying a dear price for this whole journey, and she didn't sign up for what we're doing, but she is a ferocious supporter, and she's my right hand.
So I'm gonna ask you a question. I'm sure that you've probably been asked this question before, but if you had to give the one word that Jamie would use to describe her husband, Chris Swanson, what would she say?
Real.
Why would she say that?
I mean, obviously, she sees me on all levels, and she sees what I do on the outside, and she knows that's exactly who I am on the inside. And that's why I know this is hard for her to see this whole political thing because, when you hear and see people throw trash that don't even know me,
right? She's
like, you don't even know who this guy is, but yet he shows you millions of times a month on social media, like this guy's real. He's sincere. So, that one adjective also describes me as a husband, as a father, as a friend. Like when you get me, you get me. And there's no misunderstanding. I don't need to be one thing in front of this person and then come over here and be that person. So she would describe it as he's just real. That's who he is. And I got to say this too, that's one of my biggest concerns that people have is like, is this guy real? I mean, is he always like that? The answer is, I am.
Yeah, because
I'm always like that.
People want to see transparency.
Right.
And, not only in terms of, say, from family, but also from friends and
right.
also from your work environment as well. And you lead a lot of law enforcement individuals, in Gibson
right.
County. And I know they're missing you, in terms of saying what you normally would be doing on a regular daily basis. But, that's the other question I want to ask you too, is that, so if everything goes the way that Chris Swanson wants it to go come August and also in November.
Yes.
What happens with now does your undersheriff, does he take that position or what happens at that point? I mean, I'm sure you probably planned out,
right.
your I guess your plan of action for what happens after you leave from the sheriff's department.
Yes. Good leadership is building up the next generation to take over where they left off. And so, I grew up in that place. I actually started when I was 18 in seasonal Marine Division and 20 when I got hired full time. And so it's very, very, very dear to me. I'm the only sheriff since 1836 to come from deputy to sheriff, and I'm the 40th sheriff. And I say that because I don't want it to leave it in the hands of somebody who doesn't respect that place.
Because you probably put a real great footsteps there in Genesee County, and it's like you said, who then can follow in Sheriff Chris Swanson's footsteps?
Well, that's very kind. Nobody does it by themselves, but you are right, especially when you come off like a water crisis, the walk-in 2020, Ghost, Ignite, Arrowhead, all those things we've done that have gone statewide, nationwide, and global. But we have built a team. And I tell you this, I got appointed in 2019. I took office in 2020. I'm also the emergency manager of the county. So I have a dual role.
Well, that I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. So any man-made or natural disaster, the sheriff is the front and center lead. So when COVID hit, I work hand in hand with the health department. We delivered 1 million pounds of food by deputizing 45 faith-based leaders. And when the vaccines were coming out, we delivered 330,000 vaccines on mobile clinics, because I'm also a paramedic too, and we have a paramedic division. So we were doing vaccine distributions on school parking lots in the middle of January in 2021. All that to say, we built this structure, this culture of the sheriff's office. And when I first became the sheriff in January of 2020, I told the staff then that we're going to build a command team that when one person leaves, 2 people can do their job. Okay. And we're very mobile, and that has been the culture since that day 7 years ago. So to answer your question, I do have somebody who is well-equipped and will carry on where we're at. It will not go backwards. And I'm confident that they won't be a Chris Swanson, but I'm not looking for a duplicate. I'm looking for somebody to carry on and be that person. But the Genesee County will be in great hands. The city of Flint will be in great hands, because we've created a culture that is just not dependent on one person.
Well, and I look and see the legacy that you leave, there in Genesee County. And is there anything now in this campaign that you've been doing that you really feel very, very empowered to say, hey, even if anything, if you learn a lesson, because I don't say anybody loses.
Right.
I don't say you either win or you learn. And that's the thing that I, tell everybody, when I'm talking to people. What lessons, if anything happens to where, are you going to support the other candidate that if she then gets into the primary and goes on to the general election? Because I hear no ill anything comments between you and she, and all I'm hearing is a lot of, it seems like one big happy family, that you, and people have even said to me, one of you should take the other one on as your lieutenant governor candidate. Now I hear that a lot, well, Jocelyn Benson should be Chris Swanson's lieutenant governor, or vice versa. But is that something that you may be weighing in? Because that's the one thing when I tell everybody that I was having you on the show today, everybody was asking that question as far as who do you think he'll pick as an LG?
Yeah.
Who do you think he'll pick? Do you think he'll pick a black man, a black woman, a white man, white woman? Who? But I'm sure you've got a short list of people that you've got that you're considering. And I guess the question I want to really kind of segue into is just that, what are the qualities that you would look for in a LG?
Well, if I go back to something you said earlier that I think it's important your listeners know is, if I wake up on August 5th and I'm not the candidate for governor, my heart will break for the state of Michigan.
And there's probably a lot of people's hearts in the state of Michigan that will probably break as well.
Because we've done the work. And I've asked for nothing without earning it. Mm-hmm. And I made a declaration on the 6th of February when I announced 18 months ago that Jocelyn is an option, not an opponent. I set the tone. Remember you said earlier about what I'm going to do? The leaders set the tone. And I've never thought that banging somebody on how bad they are in order to make you look good is leadership. I stand on my own merits and my own achievements. And so I've been very intentional in doing it. I just did it again last night at Ionia. She's an option, not an opponent. But I'm a way different option. I'm not the establishment. I'm not somebody who gets talking points from the party. I'm not somebody who has to fall in line. They say in Lansing the Republicans are scared to death of me and the Democrats can't figure me out. But they both love me. And I don't say that to be prideful because I'm intentional on making relationships work. That's leadership. So I have no plan B. If this, God willing, works out the way I think it's going to work out, then everything that I've done, these 97,000 miles, the 1,650 events, going to every community, that even the ones that get forgotten, those bricks in the wall will pay off because polls and money do not win elections.
Exactly.
They do not. We did our own internal poll, and we saw what the street is saying about Swanson, not some poll company out of state who calls the same 500 people and asks 30 questions and 25 minutes later, tries to give a scientific response as to what the people on the streets feel. Come on. I reach millions of people a month. I go to the streets. I know what they're feeling. We're going to win. That being said, if that doesn't happen, no, I'm not going to be an LG. I'm the sheriff of Genesee County, and the people elected me to be there, and we're just going to take a next step. But I wouldn't do this, and I have not done this on a single day, if I couldn't win it and win it all. It makes the state of Michigan proud for everybody. As far as my LG, it will not be a white man. It will not be a man. It will be a strong woman. And I made that as a declaration because I want balance. I want perspective. I want to make sure people know that this team that you get is somebody who sees the value in everybody. You look in this room right here, we got right here. This is what this administration is going to look like. And people are going to feel like not only do you have, quote, that seat at the table, you're going to have a place in the administration. Because I want to hear from leadership in my staff, what is that community feeling? How do we help them? I mean, that's what's worked my whole life. It's not just talking to white dudes like me. I want to go to where the people are and say, okay, what do you need? Just like to walk. They said, walk with us. I said, let's walk.
Well, and I know you're going to, because that was one thing that people were asking me, whether or not if you or the person that you're running along with, whether or not if you would pick an LG before the primary or wait till after the primary. Because I think that a lot of people are saying, if you wait till after the primary, there could be a lot of people that might not be as successful in the primary. There could be people that could be on a short list, And I mean, I'm not going to name names, but, there are a lot of, women, black, white, Asian, whatever the case may be, whatever the ethnicity is, there are some very, very viable young ladies that could make a great LG.
That's right.
And I'm sure you're probably looking at a lot of people, but so those are the qualities that you look for. And tell what would you expect out of your LG? Because I know that a lot of people now, they've seen Garland Gilchrist as the LG for the last 8 years. They've seen other LGs in the past, with some great governors that we've had. But what do you look for as far as, say, out of your LG? I know you said what the qualifications would be,
right?
But what would you expect that LG to do alongside Governor Chris Swanson?
Well, I think it's important to note that even throughout this whole campaign, Genesee County is the 5th biggest county in the state, and we do a lot because of the staff that we built. So although I've been running, I've also been job interviewing. And there's a lot of folks that don't even know that I'm thinking, all right, when I need this person for that, I'm coming to you. We've already done that, and I have some of these key positions already filled. We keep that proprietary because politics is janky. People can, they can take a lot of heat, especially if they're not for sure if you can cross that finish line. I know I can cross it. So what I do is I am very intentional by talking to people, saying, listen, let me do my part. But are you open to the conversation if I need you to do this for the state of Michigan? And so I've got a lot of those key positions filled. I've had conversations with people in the LG spot, and we've had some very candid, open discussions. And I'm not going to disclose them before the primary because there's going to be a price that they would have to pay by just having the conversations, because that's how foul people are. But I will tell you, a lot of them are very concerned, whoever is talking to them, that they need to cross the finish line. Otherwise, they're going to be put in a position where maybe they're going to have to pay a price they didn't write the check for. So I'm not going to announce in the next 11 days who they are. But I will tell you shortly thereafter, the next day, there'll be a conversation, because now the ones that I have sought and the ones like, off camera, we talked about a few. These are people that I think are important to put into place right away. Now, who that LG will be is not going to be somebody who's ceremonial. Like my undersheriff in the sheriff's office. My number 2 is an equal to me when it comes to responsibilities, ideas, perspective. You get 2 for 1. So my lieutenant governor for the state of Michigan is going to be somebody who is going to be very effective, very efficient, like-minded, equally yoked, protect, serve, and unify, but also can tap into communities that I can't, and we complement each other. They're going to give full autonomy to be the second in command of the state of Michigan. And upon my absence doing other business, the Constitution requires that lieutenant governor to act as the governor for the responsibility. So it is a very key pick. And it's not somebody that I'm going to, select because I'm trying to get something. They will be very effective, and they'll be somebody that we can do a great work with within the cabinet and the directors.
Okay. We got to put a pin in that. So we're going to continue that conversation.
Yes, sir.
We'll be right back with Genesee County Sheriff and candidate for the great state of Michigan for the gubernatorial race, Chris Swanson. We'll be right back.
Good morning. Today's a beautiful day, and today's not only a beautiful day because we're here in Inkster, but it's a beautiful day because I'm here with Pastor Gene Overman. I have the pleasure to serve on Operation Refuge as a board of director. This organization not only serves Inkster, but the neighborhood communities. I mean, the work we do here is beyond. It's led by Pastor Gene Overman. I've known Pastor Gene Overman for over 10 years. Everybody claims that that's her son, this is that. I mean, we go way back. She's mentored me. She's helped me throughout my career. I love you, Pastor. Can you tell us a little bit about what's going on today?
Well, we're so excited, and thank you, Safe, for bringing a team in to really help us get the word out. Today we're doing our food that we do consistently every Wednesday and Thursday throughout the month, and just very excited to share with everyone listening that Operation Refuge has Mother's Pantry. It is a client choice food pantry that we are very thankful that you come in here, and it's a place of dignity. You shop just like you're at Trader Joe's, hopefully, or one of the better grocery stores. So we're on the main strip because we want our families to leave those houses if you have a need and come over. And that's whether you're here, Dearborn Heights, Garden City, all of our surrounding communities in southeast Michigan, Wayne County, actually. We really serve great food, and we have lots of programs. But today we're here talking about Mother's Pantry, and you get the chance to see some of the interactivity at Mother's Pantry with our families. And sometimes there's a great need, and sometimes you find yourself the working underemployed. So we have lots of Alice families where you're right at that threshold where you cannot receive benefits, but you still need that support. So we're very thankful that through many partnerships with Operation Refuge, we are able to provide good, nutritious food.
What I love about our pantry is the fact that you can come in, park your car, and shop like you're walking into a grocery store. Nobody can tell you you can't take this or you can't take that. That's a sense of pride where you're not hurting anybody's feelings, and then I can walk in, get what I want, and leave. I mean, that's an amazing.
And you leave with your dignity, and oftentimes when we have food insecurity, you feel some sort of way to start with, right?
Absolutely.
So when you come in, we want to have the best choices.
Yeah.
And thankfully, we really do have excellent choices. We have halal, we have kosher, and we have partners that ensure that we keep what all of our families need.
Yeah.
So we're just very thankful.
It's your leadership and your vision. That's why, right?
And the board of directors, right?
Absolutely.
I can't get it done without you all. And as you see from the young man, you leave with fresh pineapple.
I love it.
Food,
I love it.
Right? And whether you're walking or you're able to drive up, our door is open for you.
And then the line, I can see the line.
Yeah,
I mean, when I
actually
pulled up, was all the it was all the way down to the STEM building. So it's amazing. It's a sunny day. Come to Inkster, folks. Thank you, Pastor. I love you.
I'm Chris Swanson, the Sheriff of Genesee County. I've created initiatives that have truly saved lives and made our communities better and safer. I've listened and I've talked to people in union halls, living rooms, restaurants, community gatherings, every imaginable place you can think of. People have real concerns and they're worried, but there is hope. There is hope for a different kind of leadership and to end the status quo. Vote Chris Swanson for governor, Tuesday, August 4th.
Justice for Mario Willis. Truth. Facts. Evidence. Mattered. Log into justiceformariowillis.com. Read for yourself.
.313watkins.com. Streaming on Roku.
Okay, Chris, we are going to kind of get a little bit more into detail. We are being joined here at WHPR TV for the Truth to Power show with Genesee County Sheriff Chris Swanson, also a candidate for the great state of Michigan for the next governor for the state of Michigan. But I know before we took a break, Sheriff Swanson, we were talking a little bit about the AG, and you were talking about what the roles and responsibilities of that AG. Did you want to continue with that line in terms of say what else? Because I know you were saying in the absence of you being able to,
Right.
because you can't be two places at one time.
Right.
And it could be bridges that need ribbon cutting. There's a lot of other activity that's going on throughout the state. So I know that there's things that Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist did in the absence of, Governor Whitmer.
Right.
So there's probably other things that you would probably want that LG to be able to do, at the same time. So are there any other roles and responsibilities that you look for from that, that Lieutenant Governor candidate?
Well, you bring up a great point because, when you pick a staff and you pick somebody who at that level shares the same vision that you do, they get to be deployed and they get to have that autonomy to do that. One of the things that's unique that I want to institute is, and I've asked all of the ones that I have talked to, what is it you want to do? Mm-hmm. What is the one thing that you sit back in your current role, and all of them are very successful, that you thought, man, if I had the keys to the kingdom, I could do this. That makes sense to empower them.
That's a great question.
Right. And that gets them excited, and first of all,
it shows inclusiveness.
It does. And to know that they've all done some incredible work, they're, extremely successful. Then when you transfer that into 10 million people with unlimited, virtually role that you can make things happen, it's going to fill their cup. Now, the other initiatives, the order of business for the state, whether it's a disaster that's man-made or natural, they're going to be deployed depending on their skill sets to offer wisdom, direction, discernment. These are those things that you count on your number two to do. I'll have a chief of staff. I'll have an executive director within the office of governor. But the LG will be very visible, very upfront and empowered. But we got to boost that pay up. It's a disrespectful pay, I might add. It's like $109,000 for a lieutenant governor. And so, we need to pay that spot what it's worth. And I think Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist is not only just worthy of that, but the next one in, we got to do better than that. So that's the other thing too, is we're going to bump that package up, worthy of who that person is.
But that's good to hear you say that. That might put probably a few more candidates that probably are ready to say, hey, Sheriff Swanson, I'm available. So
right.
They know that they could be getting a pay raise.
Right. Because you got to pay for talent. Look at all the recruitment that happens in in sports. You got to pay for talent. And if you're looking at the administration you're going to get with me, we're going to bring in talent this state has never seen, and we're going to do things the state has never seen. So long answer, short question, that LG is going to have the spirit of this administration, and they will be visible. They're going to have their own agendas that they feel very passionate about, that are like-minded with what I believe in, and we're going to get so much done. I'm telling you, they're going to see Governor Swanson's administration all over the state like Genesee County sees the sheriff.
Do you ever, because, everybody, the one thing that everybody says is that he is full of energy.
Yeah.
Every time they see you, when they see you at campaign rallies, see you in coffee houses or recreation centers or schools or wherever the case may be, they're always seeing a smile on your face. Mm-hmm. They're always seeing that energy to kind of just radiate throughout your presentation.
Yeah.
And, and it's like, what really gets Chris Swanson really driving, like that? And that's what I'm seeing more than anything else.
Yeah.
That drive, that personal drive. And people love to see that.
Right.
They love to see you, getting really active and really involved with everything that you do. But what is it that really pushes Sheriff Chris Swanson into what you do? What pushes you? What, besides Jamie, besides your sons, besides your daughters in love, what really pushes Chris Swanson to really kind of, like when he wants to kind of, how do I say it, kind of lift his spirits up? What do you do? I mean, do you like to read, like to hike? What's hobbies that Chris Swanson does?
Yeah, well, the energy part has been my DNA since I was a kid. That's a gift from God, as I've always been active. I can't sit still. For all them teachers out there, that kid who talks too much and can't sit, they could be future governors one day. So make sure you harness that energy. I've always had this disposition, and it's interesting to think that my dad and my grandfather, both Detroit police officers, and I grew up in that era. I'm the youngest of four, but my parents left Detroit, and I was 8 months old and moved to Genesee County. There's a gap between me and my next oldest, my sister, my two brothers. So I've always had older people in my family. I've always related with people, but the vibe that I have has always been there. And I've never been a bad kid, but I'm a busy kid. Then you transfer that into the work that I've done. And when I became a paramedic at 20, it's because I saw my first violent death. It was a shooting, and I was an intern, and it just rattled me. And so since I was 20 years old, I've dealt with death and violence. And when I got hired at the sheriff's office, went to the academy in 1994, and then worked the street and worked dope, and then investigations, and then human trafficking and taking confessions. The energy and the optimism I have is because I choose to do that. With as much brokenness that I deal with every day, you could either succumb to it, or I use it as fuel to help the next person. And when I said before earlier in the show about my enthusiasm, people ask, is he real like that? The answer is 100%. It's because I create my own energy. I'm like a power generation station, and I feed off people, which is to answer your second question. Whether I'm running on a road race and I see a crowd of people, anybody who runs with me will know he's going to pick up his pace because he feeds off that energy. But I also know as a leader, I got to walk into the room, and it goes back to what I said even before we talked, is you got to set the tone. So if I want people to be optimistic, I better be optimistic. I better set that. In the sheriff's office, we have highs and lows like everybody else does. If I walk into someone at a Speedway gas station and I see them, I don't know what they just got texted. I don't know what they're dealing with. I don't know what kind of financial issues are. So I get to go in there and say, hey, hope you're having a great day. Thanks for everything. I appreciate you, and bounce. Like that one little seed could be exactly what they need to get through the next day. And so I am very intentional on being optimistic and energetic, aside with my gift. And I don't have a bunch of downtime. I mean, I do my best thinking in motion. Like I was running this morning, in the morning. I don't have a phone. I don't have headphones. I just go there and just have my time with God and have my time with people and think. And that's where I do my best thoughts. So when I want to recharge, I go solo. I isolate. And it only takes me a minute. But when I do that, it's always in motion. It's on a bike for an hour and a half in 130-degree weather. It's on a long run. it's sitting on the back deck, just like nothing distracted me. And then, man, my mind just opens up and I'm recharged. But I do have an endless amount of energy. And when I go into a room like last night, man, I light it up and that feeds me for the next one. So I'm like a circle that has no end.
But but that makes a big difference too, because like you say, you never know what somebody's
Right.
going through. So it's always good to be uplifting, to be motivational, and be inspirational.
Right, especially in politics.
Exactly.
I mean, politics is so ugly ways. I mean, it's just got so many different times where you could just feel like, oh my gosh, why would anybody want to do this? Well, why would you not want to do that and set the tone of what others can do? And so it takes a lot more effort to do that in a field like this when you have highs and lows and storms and sunshine. But man, it's those people. You've seen it. I mean, everybody listening here knows when you've been in a fight for your life, and that one person says the right thing to you at the right time. It's like, boom, that was the pivot. And that's where hope comes in. I mean, Brock talked about that when he was running 07, Yes, we can. What do you mean, yes, we can? What can we do? We can have hope. I mean, you look at all those leaders throughout our whole life. Any leader, anybody you followed gave hope. Mm-hmm. I mean, anybody who stood in front of people that were hurting gave hope. And that's what I've been created to do. And that's what I do every single day. And I think that right there continues to be the message that people resonate with, especially in this run. They're looking for something, some energy. Certainly the party needs it.
So what I need you to do now is I want you to give your little elevator speech, because we know this is a midterm election. We know that usually midterm elections, it's not really a whole lot of people that really get out and vote compared to the presidential election. This is also a primary. And a lot of times in the primary, you don't get the kind of numbers in the primary that you get in the general election. Give your elevator speech as to why people should, and it's not necessarily just to vote for you for governor, but why people should, what's the importance of why people should get out and vote in this primary election, especially in this midterm primary election.
Moments with momentum create movements.
Is that a quote?
That's me.
Okay.
That's me. Moments with momentum create the movement. And if you're listening right now and you go back in your life and you can recall the moment that created a movement in your life, the only difference of that happening or not happening is the momentum in the middle. And so if you have been inspired, and that word inspiration means if somebody has breathed life into you, a historic figure, somebody you love, your auntie, your grandmother, your grandfather, that momentum is only you. They created the moment, but you do the momentum. If you don't do that, then you're missing out in the movement. That's what we've created. We've created a movement that in many cases shouldn't come from a guy like me. When I walked in that crowd on May 30th at the Target parking lot when we came back and then they were yelling and chanting, "Walk with us," I should have been the last guy after George Floyd was begging for his life. When it was taken by somebody who looked like me in my uniform, I should have been the last guy said, "Hey, let's walk." But that moment and the momentum created the movement. So whether it's a primary, whether it's a midterm, whether it's a general election, I'm asking the people out here, if you've been moved by something, then be a part of the momentum to create your movement in a Swanson's campaign.
Well, and that's the thing that in my new position, because I just got elected to be the NAACP state conference chair.
My man.
So appreciate that. And in my position, in terms of say with NAACP now, with what I do now, there's a lot of movement that needs to be done when it comes down to candidates, when it comes down to elected officials. And as I've talked to Rick Michaels, this with you, and I was saying that if you are successful, I want you to be able to go and come to our state convention that we're going to be doing in September. And whoever the Republican candidate, is between John James or Perry Johnson, would want you to come. And I'm not necessarily looking for you to debate them, but to be able to go.
I'll rock the house.
And I know you will.
Yeah.
And I know you will. So I just want to get a commitment from you that yes, scheduling permitting, that you would come and do that. We just recently had our NAACP convention, as you may know, in Chicago. And, you know, we've been addressing the issues about Nolan Wells and, you know, what happened with the autopsy and that kind of thing. And there's so many different things that's going on throughout the country. And, you know, what happened with the young man that, you know, was at that festival and, you know, that happened with him. Are there any things, Chef Swanson, that you've seen or that's going on? Because, I mean, people talk about data centers. They're talking about ICE. They're talking about voter intimidation. There's so many things. Like you said, politics can be a real interesting. I don't want to say the word ugly, but it can be real interesting, especially the vibe that's going on where there's so much vitriol between candidates. But you've kept it clean candidacy. You don't say anything negative about anyone that's running in the same race with you. It's not like they're an opponent. You used the word before when you describe it's an option. And your option is totally different than the other options that are out there. But let me kind of segue this into, we know after August the 4th, there's a general election. We know that the campaign does not stop on August 4th. You don't assume anything. What are you going to see in terms of, say, because it looks like there's going to be, and I'm not going to say who, but, you know, we're going to have one person that's going to represent the Republican Party, you know, come August the 5th. You know? But what makes Chris Swanson different than the Republican option that's on the other side of the fence? What is it, and why should people, you know, especially because you got a lot of people that are on the fence right now. You got a lot of people that are that were going to support Duggan when he was running as an independent. Now that he's not an option, now they're really kind of deciding whether or not they're going to go to the Republican side or they're going to go to the Democratic side. A lot have probably gone to the Democratic side. You probably picked up a lot of those supporters, you know, that were supporting him. But now you've got the Republican option. What makes you different than the Republican option? Because I'm seeing a lot of amped up advertisements from the Republican option now. And this person, well, I can say he because it's only a couple of men that are running still now. But now he's amped up a lot. 47, he's really pushing to try and get a Republican elected in that office as well. But what do you say to the people that may be the ones on the fence? You know, what makes a Swanson governorship different than a other Republican governorship?
Well, there's two ways to tell someone their shoes don't match. One that can thank you and one that can hate you. So I do the same messaging, whether it's a data center, whether it's about ICE, to let people know, man, he's strong in that position and it makes sense. And when you do that, you have what's called crossover appeal. And that's what Mike Duggan was trying to grab. He was trying to grab those people that were frustrated from both sides. When I spoke at the DNC in August of 2024 for Kamala Harris, I had already done the commercial for Joe Biden in May. And during that commercial, I spoke in full uniform, and I compared May 30th up in Flint to January 6th. They put $50 million behind that commercial, and it was launched on a Wednesday. The debate was Thursday, and you know the rest of the story. When I got the call to speak at the DNC, and they wanted me to speak on hope and law and order, and they gave me a 3 to 5 minute window, and I asked Julie Chavez Rodriguez, which is Kamala's chief of staff, what day am I doing this? They said day 4, prime time, 9:15 p.m., 20 minutes before she takes the nomination. I knew right then and there, because I had, again, been a student of movements. When I saw Barack speak in 2004, and I was moved by that 19-minute speech, I thought, God has given me this opportunity, and I'm going to take advantage of it for the good of this state and this country. Like, I've been given a gift. Don't squander it. So I did my speech in full uniform in front of 23.5 million people. And this phone was littered with people who loved what I did and hated what I did. And I had an election. My re-election was in November. I didn't do that for re-election purposes. I did it because it was the right thing to do at the right time for the right message, and I'd do it today if I had to. When I got on that stage and I gave my remarks, and I was passionate about what law and order looks like, and that protect, serve, and unify means something to me. And in Flint, we're seeing the difference of that mentality. And when I walked off stage that November, and I have a purple base in Genesee County, just like Michigan. Genesee County is an incredible ecosystem of what the state is. When I had that election in November, I got a 30% crossover vote still. That means there's people that did not like the party, but they still believe in Swanson. When you have that crossover appeal, where people that may not have voted, but they didn't sign up for what they're seeing, that is powerful. No candidate, not on the Democratic side or the Republican side, has the crossover appeal on either side like I do. And here's why. Is because I have actions and bark on my tree. I am not only law enforcement, but an elected sheriff of a big county. I've been on faculty at the University of Michigan Flint in public health for 28 and a half years. I own businesses. I grew up in a mixed neighborhood. I get my soul from where I grew up. I go to communities and places like this. And so I have all these different places and people that I have checked in the box that people can go back and say, oh, that's the walk guy. That's the jelly roll guy. That's the Ignite guy. That's the guy who hires second chance citizens. That's the ghost guy. That's the guy who does problem solving policing. I mean, that's the guy who gives out, gift cards at intersections to people. All those little check boxes, that's what makes me different. And so what I think is going to shock the state is the messaging and the polls that we've done. That's what's going to give us the edge on August the 4th, because the runway now at 10 days is too short for anything to change. People probably have already made their decision. Mm-hmm. What they still haven't decided is, do they like this party over this party? Right. I would say don't use party as your definition if you're still on the fence. You look at Chris Swanson. In fact, don't listen to what I say. Watch what I do. Go talk to John Allen Bay. Go talk to Danny Harani. Go talk to people. Go talk to Darwin. I mean, you've seen people sit here in your studio and lie. White folks that come into the black communities and say all the things they want to say about urban communities, but they have no idea what it's like to work in the black community. I grew up in a neighborhood like that. I mean, Malik Wilson and Chris Keys, they were my homies. When I grew up, I went from a country house in Goodrich. At 15 years old, man, we were in Ottawa Hills in Grand Blanc, and then you go into Flint. I say that because I'm intentional on going into people's perspectives. In fact, fun fact, when I got appointed sheriff in 2020, I told you that was my election year. And when I got elected that year of COVID, 2021 hit, and that's when I hired John L. and Percy. Percy did 12 years, and John L. did 29 years. And they're
Percy Glover.
And they were full-time commanders, right? Percy moved on to a big opportunity. John L's still there. Man, we flew to Birmingham because I wanted to see what that 16th Street Baptist Church looked like with my own eyes. I didn't go there because it was an event. I went there, and I went to the corner, and I saw those 4 little girls went to the bathroom, and I saw him where they got their lives lost, and I talked to some dude. I paid him $20. He was walking down the street. He's from there. I said, tell me the story. What is redlining? Tell me what it's like. And he showed me. And then we went to Selma. And then I'm standing at that bridge, and I'm just looking, I'm feeling, I'm like, man, how did people like me wearing a badge that I wear in 1963, 64, 65, 67, 68, how are they fighting for voter rights in the I'm not talking 1860s, 1960s. And then I agree, I always say good people find good people. Sheriff Petway, who's the sheriff of the county there in Birmingham, I asked him, I said, I want to go to the cell, man. And he took me to the second floor of the circuit court where MLK's cell was. And I sat on that bench now. When I sat on the bench looking out the same window. Now, I was born in 1972, far after, 1968 when he was killed. But I sat on that bench looking out the same window when he wrote the letter from Birmingham jail. And I felt it. All those things build the perspective. Like when I'm talking to you, I'm feeling you. I'm just not trying to get my own perception. And those are the kind of touch points that when it comes to an elected official, and I don't mean to be prideful when I say this, but I have never met anybody run for office like me. And I, as a constituent, have been looking for somebody like me. That's what's going to make the difference in August, and that's what's going to make the difference in November, is I'm going to get those Republicans that are looking for a home. I'm going to get the people that Mike Duggan was trying to attract that had no home, and give Democrats a home. That's why we're going to win double digits.
Well, now are you hear a lot of people talk about progressives and conservatives. Which would you consider yourself? Would you consider yourself as either, as far as say a conservative or a progressive?
Man, I don't accept labels. I'm Swanson. And I say that because we should all be progressive in our leadership. That's progress. I mean, everybody. But your own personal views and values, that's what makes me who I am, is I protect people's rights and freedoms to be who you are and not be divisive and not be a separatist, because you may not like what somebody is, but you better respect who they are and give them the dignity and the equality and the opportunity that everybody else has. So depending on where I'm at, I tell people, man, I love being where I'm at because I'm a leader. And there's great things that need to be even made better, and there's other things that I'm happy about, but we're not even close to being. So I'm Chris Swanson, and I say that not to be, again, not to be prideful, but I love the diversity, whether it's progressive, moderate, conservative, doesn't matter. Those are people of Michigan, and that's what I'm attracting.
Well, we got to take a quick break. We are with Sheriff, Genesee County, Chris Swanson, and also candidate
Before we break, I just want to say hello to Mr. Swanson.
We have some breaking news, Darwin.
I guess we do.
Come on, man. Thank you, brother.
How you doing, man? You all right?
You gotta tell everybody who you are.
There you go. R.J. Watkins.
Just want to say, we got the man in the house. Anybody's gonna break into a show, man, I tell you, there we go.
I just want to
Thank you.
welcome you back to the studio. And
Thank you.
You're welcome anytime.
I appreciate it, man. I remember meeting you and being invited back here. You see BS when you see it, and you know heart when you see it.
I like you. I like you.
Thank you.
I like this guy.
Thank you. Boss is in the house.
Okay, now we'll take a break, and we will be back shortly with Sheriff of Genesee County, Chris Swanson. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Saturday afternoons at 12 p.m., followed by Mr. Smooth's Ballroom and Steppers Express Dance Show on WHPR 15.2 Detroit, Apple TV, Roku, and many streaming platforms. See you Saturday.
If you enjoy the music, the talk, and the vibe right here on WHPR, we need your support. Help us keep independent radio alive by sending a Cash App donation of whatever you can to $WHPR TV Radio. Every dollar makes a difference. That's $WHPR TV Radio. Support the station that supports you.
TV 33 is moving to WHPS TV channel 15.2. Make sure to rescan the channels on your TV. Then go to WHPS channel 15.2 to pick up TV 33 and all of your favorite shows. The move is on, and we want you to move with us to WHPS channel 15.2.
We are now streaming on Alexa. That's right, we're streaming our TV audio worldwide on Alexa. To get us, just say,
Alexa, enable Watkins Broadcasting.
Okay, here's Watkins Broadcasting. Starting the Watkins Broadcasting live stream.
Now, Alexa will allow you to listen to your favorite TV programs. Remember, to get us, just say,
Alexa, enable Watkins Broadcasting.
Okay, here's Watkins Broadcasting. Starting the Watkins Broadcasting live stream.
We're streaming our TV audio worldwide.
Justice for Mario Willis. Truth. Facts. Evidence. Mattered. Log into justiceformariowillis.com. Read for yourself.
313watkins.com. Streaming on Roku.
I'm Chris Swanson, the Sheriff of Genesee County. I've created initiatives that have truly saved lives and made our communities better and safer. I've listened and I've talked to people in union halls, living rooms, restaurants, community gatherings, every imaginable place you can think of. People have real concerns and they're worried, but there is hope. There is hope for a different kind of leadership and to end the status quo. Vote Chris Swanson for governor, Tuesday, August 4th.
107.5 FM, WGPR HD3.
You're watching WHPS, Highland Park, Detroit.
Very special edition of Truth to Power, and I am here with Genesee County Sheriff Chris Swanson, and also candidate for the great state of Michigan for governor. And you know, Chris, we really, you know, it's one thing that's kind of nice to be able to talk to somebody, and I saw the reaction that the station president R.J. Watkins had, you know, when he saw you, and he couldn't wait to, you know, before we took the last break, to kind of come on the air and let you know how much, you know, we here at Watkins Broadcasting at WHPR appreciate you, you know, coming and doing this interview with me today. And as he mentioned, and I echo his sentiments, that you are always invited, and welcome to come back.
And that doesn't happen unless you earn it. You don't give that away, see?
And it's a trust that we have, you know, for anyone that walks through the doors of WHPR. And, you know, because of the fact that there were probably 20 other things that you could have been doing today, but just to take time from your busy, you know, schedule, from your busy day, that really touches our hearts.
Thank you.
You know, here. So
and you could add 20 other guests, so it goes both ways.
And that's the key thing.
Yes,
but,
sir.
You know, because of the fact that you know, I give credit where credit is due. You've got a great staff with you. You've got a great, you just got some great people that surround you.
Right, thank you.
And I see your spheres of influence are very, very broadened.
Right.
In terms of, say, now that you are a candidate for governor, and then once then you become governor, I see that those spheres of influence broadening.
Yeah.
So much bigger, you know, than that. But, you know, we know that there's a lot of attention that's being drawn to other races. It seems like every time I turn on the TV, I'm always seeing ads for the candidates that are running for Senate here. And there seems to be a lot of interesting conversations that's being stated by both those candidates in opposition to the other candidate that's running. But I know you've been hit with these questions like data centers. What's your thoughts on them? I'm gonna just kind of do some rapid fire with some things and just kind of get your, I'm gonna throw a question or one word question at you and just kind of give me your input, you know, when it comes to that. What's your thoughts on reparations?
We data centers first, or what do you want to do?
Let's do reparations first, because I know that's a question that a lot of people are being asked, and then we'll get to data centers, because that might be a little bit more of a difficult question to respond to.
Yeah.
So let's do reparations.
See, that's why it's important to have diversity in your staff. I mean, because
you mentioned that earlier
100%.
when you said looking around this room right here and seeing the diversity right here in the studio.
Right. So when you talk about reparations, you talk about people have been done wrong over the past. What does that look like? What is the end result? What's the conversation needs to have with people that don't look like me? So this is a short answer to a long historic question and challenge, is get the right people in the room to make the right decision for the state of Michigan, and don't continue the pathway of taking away people's rights and abilities, and continue to redline when it comes to politics, continue to redline when it comes to, gerrymandering and moving districts around. That's what's happening. So it's a ecosystem that has to be looked at. So to answer your question, day one of those answers, one of those questions is going to be, how do we do what needs to be done and do it right and then sustainable? So it's getting the people in the room that actually know the answers, just not talking points.
Okay. Line 5.
Man, I know the permits were approved. I mean, I'm coming in at the 9th inning rounding home. By the time I get there, it's probably going to be done, be honest. But that doesn't mean we can't do it safely and get the right people at the table. Going back to what we said before, whether it's the Native American communities, the people up in Marquette and Mackinac and Sheboygan and all those people that involve Upper Lower Peninsula. But the trades are involved too. I'm a trade candidate, 34 endorsements. They want to do it right. That's why they don't want to build data centers when there's protests. They want to do it when things are done right. So I think line 5, again, I'm not in those conversations as the sheriff of Genesee County, but that's part of that first 90 days we talked about. Okay, where are we exactly? What are the risks? What are the gaps that we have? I don't want to solve one problem, create 10 more. I mean, I come from Flint where the water crisis it annihilated our entire community on the 4th of January 2016. We're not going to repeat those mistakes. But we're also going to do it right. We're going to do it methodical. We're going to make sure everybody's perspective is heard. And then ultimately the decision is going to be made to protect Michigan, period. The same thing in data centers. You shove it down local communities' throats, you're going to get blowback. And that's what happened. When you take away public comment, when you have non-disclosures that are being done and people are getting hookups behind the scenes. My family's not making a dime on data centers. I'm not having fundraisers. I don't take DTE consumers' money. I don't stand with people because I'm trying to get ingratiated with them for finance purposes. I mean, we raised a ton of money, but it's from unions and local people. When you put all that together, and then all of a sudden you try to pitch an idea that has eroded public trust, you're going to have what we have right now. Public trust is hard to build and easy to lose. And that's what's happening, whether it's data centers, whether it's manufacturing community. And then when you have, I think the state of Michigan needs to be a collaborator with locals. Mm-hmm. But when you elect a local councilwoman, a councilman, a commissioner, a supervisor, a mayor, they know their community better than anybody. The state has to be a collaborator, not the dominator. And that's what's happening is you've taken away local control. And then ultimately, I think when you look at the state of Michigan on the broader perspective of economy, if you want to help our schools, our roads, don't tax industries. That's why it blows people's minds that as a sheriff against the 24% tax increase for cannabis on top of the 16, it's 40%. The industry is getting blown up. It's driving the market back into the streets. It makes no sense whatsoever. It's not even a business decision. It's a bad decision on an industry. We roll that back into fixing the roads through the line items in the budget. The only way to fund that to make sense is to increase the GDP, not tax industries or people. That GDP, which is about $700 billion gross domestic product and services, if we can build those up in small businesses, radio stations, if I am able to help you make more money in advertising here, where do you think that money's going to go? Right back into the business, right back into the pockets, right into local communities. So all the things that you hear about when it comes to small, mid, and large cap investments in the state through businesses, don't forget those baseline small businesses that make up 900,000 throughout the state of Michigan. That's what's pouring into the community. We get focused on data centers and manufacturing. The power in the economy is that local business. And so we're going to divide the state up in 3 colors, yellow, red, and green. Yellow means that we have basic infrastructure, and we have a desire for people to want to hear what is possible for their communities. Then a red means no infrastructure, or they don't want big business in there. They don't want data centers. So don't force it down their throat. Green means they have infrastructure, they have a workforce, they have housing, and they want business. Imagine being a 49, state competitor or a global competitor, and you're able to look at Michigan, and you know exactly where you could go with your industry because we've done the homework for you. Mm-hmm. That makes sense as a governor. It makes sense as a business owner. It makes sense as a leader. So whether it's a data center, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's economy, whether it's any of these things that have caused so much division, it goes back to messaging. You're going to hear it from me. And we don't have that faith right now. I don't know what DT and consumers are saying because when you get the records, it's all redacted. We solving one problem, create 10 more. Is an open water system, a closed water system? These are the things that are of major concern, not only just for me, but for the majority of the people you talk to.
And you know, and it's interesting that you mentioned about with the infrastructure, because a lot of people know the history of Detroit, where we had Black Bottom, Paradise Valley, and they know that, you know, right there, that straightaway on Hastings Street that had all these black businesses that existed throughout that time. There was a mayor back then. I'm not going to say his name. I'm not going to give him the credit.
Yeah.
But he went and he just tore up all that. You know, all
Why?
those businesses that were eradicated, that were eliminated. Now there's talk about the fact that they want to put a Paradise Valley back in Detroit.
Yeah.
Especially along that corridor, that expressway.
See, that makes sense to me.
Tore down to with all those businesses
Yeah.
that were uprooted. Just like the same thing that happened in terms of with Tulsa, when they eradicated all those black businesses there. You know, the Black Wall Street that they had. But there's talk about filling in 375 and turning that into another Paradise Valley. What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, that's where collaboration has to come in, you know, with the mayor of Detroit and all those involved. I mean, I would tell you this, what makes me unique is I love big ideas. I love big plans, and nobody's going to tell me it can't be done because I've seen it. Just out of Genesee County, with the small little group of resources we have, as I said, we've done things statewide, nationwide, and global. These are the ideas that let's walk a mile, see a mile on this. But what really is going to start the conversation, again, goes back to local control. You're always going to hear me say, I want to see where the locals are. If somebody brings me ideas, okay, where's the local community at? Where are they with this? It may not be 100% agreement. Maybe they just don't know all the answers. Maybe we don't have all the answers to give them, or maybe we haven't given them the answers that we do know, and that's what destroys transparency and trust. So, again, anything you're talking about, especially I love history. If we're able to recreate something, I mean, and be a part of that, then you got my attention.
Because that was the one thing that a lot of people are really concerned about, because now you have people that are looking at doing an entertainment district from Motor City Casino down to Ford Field. And they're looking at trying to get a lot of entertainment because people are coming back to Detroit.
Right.
There's a lot of people that are coming back, not just the sports, you know, the sports teams are attracting people, but businesses are prospering from these sports teams that are generating a lot of revenue outside of like Comerica Park, outside of Ford Field, outside of Little Caesars Arena. And you're seeing the downtown is so vibrant now, with a lot of activity from people all over, not just in the state of Michigan,
of course,
but also coming over from Canada, you know, to recreate over here, you know, at the same time.
That's why we don't need to just disrespect them and call them a 51st state. You know what I mean? And it's one thing. It's funny. I did a video on that a couple weeks ago. I'm standing there on the Detroit River, and I cut a video. I said, "Hey, Canada, when I'm governor, we're going to be friends again." I mean, seriously, they're our neighbors. When Gordie Howe opens up, you know, much is going to move back and forth. People are going to take the bridge just to see what the bridge is like, let them come over. That's why you need to have good relationships and collaborations, and also take what has brought the city back and what's brought the county back and duplicate that to the other places. You know, bring that to Flint, Saginaw, bring that to Benton Harbor, bring that to the Heights, you know. And I got to say one other thing, too, because we're in Wayne County. If anybody's questioning the sheriff's role in the governor, when you look at Macomb and Wayne County, both county executives, former sheriffs.
Yep.
It's a great platform for the next big test. Just saying. Shout out to you, Warren Evans.
That's interesting. That's interesting. You know, and that is interesting. You're right.
That's right. There's no role, honestly, that prepares people, in my opinion, better than a sheriff's role, because we're elected law enforcement officers that take care of everybody, and we have a party. I mean, you can't make it more complicated than that. But a successful sheriff, Mark Hackle and Macomb, we understand human nature, and we understand processes, and we understand making order out of chaos. So, again, whether it's healing a relationship with Canada, I don't care what they think about, you know, D.C. I care what you think about the people of Michigan, because Canadians coming over here that feel disrespected are not going to be in our hotels, are not going to be in our stores, are not going to go open up and see them black businesses and say, hey, tell me about it. Like, you got to build relationships. So, going back to that 90 days, one of them is making friends with Canada again.
And I'm sure that Canada would love to see that.
That's right.
Friendly relationship, you know, again.
That's right.
As opposed to all those tariffs that was imposed.
I know.
You know, on them as well.
Right.
But, you know, when you look at some of the other things, I'll just throw another, you know, word at you too. There's a lot of people that are upset because of the state takeover when it came down to Belle Isle, and Belle Isle has changed, considerably. And the other question I want to ask you too is about: do you think that there needs to be any toll roads here in the state of Michigan?
Yeah. Going to Belle Isle, it's funny you bring that up because
that's one thing that people were talking about.
Yeah,
now you got to pay a toll to get onto, Belle Isle, unless you do the recreational pass, on your driver's license. I'm sorry, your license plate.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are not too happy because they do have to pay a toll to get onto Belle Isle. Whereas all of the years that I know I grew up, you just go on Belle Isle and recreate and do those things.
Right.
Compared to now having to go and pay a toll.
Right.
But another question I wanted to ask you. So first I'll let you speak to Belle Isle. Then I want to ask you about the toll roads, because I know that's one thing that people are talking about. You have to pay a toll to get over to the Upper Peninsula, across the Mackinac Bridge.
Yeah.
But there are people that are talking about toll roads here in the state of Michigan. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, going back to Belle Isle, I did the Detroit Marathon twice, and I was just on Belle Isle with you. A couple 2 months ago,
a couple of months ago,
and you hear all the stories. I was at Kirby's Coney Island in Southfield, and they had a big old picture about Belle Isle and all the things that were happening back in the day.
And then how you used to have to go under a tunnel under Jefferson to get onto Belle Isle.
See,
and a lot of people don't know that until they see these pictures.
We ran the tunnel. That's part of the marathon route.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I say that because, man, I love to recreate history. And when I was driving there on, going to the yacht club with you, and man, you just look around, you think.
And let me explain that too, because I don't want people to think that I got a yacht down there.
No. Yeah, we better. That's right.
We did a candidate forum down there.
That's right.
That I moderated. But go ahead.
Yeah. See, the good call. But it was the candidate forum that made sense. And when you overlook Belle Isle, you see what it used to be, and why can't it be that again? So I love the collaboration again. I want to make Michigan better after 4 years than it was when I got there. If you ask people in Genesee County, is your time better or worse when Sheriff Swanson got in? And they're going to say better if you ask the majority of the people, because I'm intentional on that. That being said, I ain't interested in increasing the taxes on people in Michigan. Make that loud and clear. I don't care if it's a penny toll. We all got to pay to go across the Mackinac Bridge because it is what it is. It's authority. But I do think there's value in looking at why commercially all of our trucks going to Indiana, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Illinois, got to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to them. But their trucks come up here, and we don't get anything.
Right.
So let me just foreshadow. We're going to make it fair for Michigan businesses, but we are not taxing Michigan businesses or Michigan residents to do so.
Okay. Well, and that's the thing, because I just got back from Chicago, and I know there's a lot of tolls in the state of Illinois.
Yeah.
Especially even around O'Hare, around the airport.
Right.
But now, one of the things that, I want to ask you about, too, is that when we talk about crime prevention, which you know a whole lot about that part of it, we're seeing a lot of, people that have been gunned down due to gun violence. You and Secretary of State spoke at a gun violence rally that they did at one of the churches, earlier.
That's right.
And, that's the question that a lot of people are seeing now. A lot of young people are getting guns and committing crimes. We just had that recent incident that happened where at Fairlane, at the mall, where someone, 2 people were killed at the mall. And then I just saw something where there was a Walmart. I was in Chicago during that time, but they said there was a shooting at a Walmart, and then also the incident that happened at the Kmart, I think in Southgate. So, I mean, there's so many different things that are going on, and it saddens me sometimes when I open up Facebook and I see gun violence and people deciding to arbitrate an issue with that. But what can be done? What do you think needs to be done, especially with the being able to get guns so it seems like so easily? And then what happened at the parade? At the fireworks, where you had the person that had a backpack and allegedly had a weapon inside his backpack, and only 19. And that's the part that really kind of gets to a lot of people. The young people are more so acquiring these guns so easily nowadays. And what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah. That's why I think now more than ever, Darwin, it makes sense to have a sheriff of a big county as the governor of the state of Michigan. to make policy changes and make the justice system more justice than it's ever been. So the question you're asking has an algorithm of obligations in order to the end result: lower gun violence, lower deaths, lower shootings, lower incarcerations. If we can do that, then all the steps in between make sense. So first of all, gun ownership and gun responsibility, two different things. I'm all into protecting people's rights, but every gun owner will tell you that I do respect gun responsibility. Mm-hmm. So it's about messaging. I testified in full uniform when it comes to emergency risk protection orders, extreme risk protection orders, red flag laws they're called. When you separate somebody who's in a crisis from a weapon, you save lives. I testified in full uniform about safe gun storage. I testified that there has to be a distance and an age requirement. These are all things that make sense. Now, that's one part of the whole algorithm. Nothing's going to be, the great fix. Fast forward, if you see the youth violence increasing, what is the causation? I've always thought, don't treat the symptom, fix the problem.
Right.
And the problem goes way back. That's why education is so important. That's why giving people mentorship is so important. That's why breaking down the homelessness, the drug addictions, and mental illness issues so important. That's why Ignite is so important. Ignite is our inmate growth naturally intentionally through education in jails. I mean, I've got 18-year-olds in Genesee County, and they've been put there because of decisions that were made that they had no control over, many of them. But they grew up in an environment that was their only natural path, and now they're paying a dear price. Ignite that we launched in 2020, 6 years ago, giving folks in jail, where 9 out of 10 people go back to the streets, only 10% go to prison, which is a whole nother reform we're doing. Love to talk to you about that. People have been in prison that shouldn't be there, and people that are on the streets that should be.
We love that you come back and talk about it.
Yeah. Ignite is that opportunity to get education on a meritocracy, so you can have a pathway of jobs and have an ID and never come back. We've just had our 42nd commencement 2 weeks ago when we've graduated thousands of inmates out of Genesee County. Those are all little parts of that whole algorithm to reduce what you just said. But that is a symptom of a greater problem. And unless you have somebody in leadership making those policy decisions that can message it and enforce it and also explain it, then you're going to see the same things happen over and over. That's why I know that when you asked me on what it would be like on August 5th, that my heart would break, is because I know I have a skill set that the state has never seen. And I know they have a tenacity, an energy, a leadership ability that the state has never seen. You put all that together, we're going to have a much different conversation at the end of my first term when you're thinking, man, look what happened. How did we reduce jail population in Genesee County 100? How did we reduce violence in Flint, Genesee County, double digits, reduce the homicide level? I mean, it doesn't mean it's zero, but it's far better than it was, and it's not there yet. These are the kinds of things that leadership, whether it's social justice, juvenile justice, returning citizens that are going to be part of my administration, it's all part of the ecosystem to do exactly what you're asking: save lives.
And see, that's one of the things too, because I know we have to wrap up in a minute, but when it comes down to the mental health here in the state of Michigan, and all over the country for that fact, but we know that under a previous administration, they shut down a lot of mental health institutions. And now a lot of people are thinking, well, okay, fine, somebody has a mental health issue, lock them up. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that, you just can't lock up and throw away the key with folks.
Right.
There needs to be some kind of, in terms of, say, like a intervention, some kind of a opportunity for people to kind of go and find a way that once they do go through whatever rehabilitation that they may go through, what are you going to do?
Right.
Provide for them some type of opportunity so that they can have a gainful, way of life. And that's the thing that right now we got to do more. We got to do better. And I'm hoping that you as a governor can
well, that's why it's so important to elect a governor who doesn't take you backwards. And I'm going to tell you right now, you don't get the right governor through the primary, you're going to have a Republican governor that's going to take us back to what Engler did. And jails will continue to be mental health facilities.
Right.
9 out of 10 of them in jails in Michigan are addicted or co-addicted. 6 are mentally ill that have many times a non-diagnosis, and half of them can't read a menu. How we expect these folks to go back on the streets and thrive and survive and not come back? Come on. You got somebody who has the potential of being the governor that can reverse course of everything you're just talking about, because it's either jail or it's violence on the street, and there's nothing in between. So the mental health plan that I have, making those hard places for people to go to within 72 hours of a crisis to get a game plan to go back into the communities instead of just throwing them out there, all that makes sense. You know, I mean, DHHS is our biggest budget. We have money out there that we can use with technology and telemedicine to get these people the help they need. Suicide crisis, addiction crisis, or just a straight up mental health crisis. And going back into the jails, we talked about it. I know we're short on time. Man, we're going to go back to the basics. Anybody in Michigan Department of Corrections is there for a 20-year life offense. We're going back to review those cases, whether it's a plea or a jury. Was it fair? And was it justified? Because there's people in prison, I'm convinced, that are there when they shouldn't be, and there's people that are not there that should be.
Well, I know you're going to make a great decision about who your lieutenant governor candidate
Yes, sir.
is going to be. I
Are you vying for the job? Is that what you're saying?
No, because I'm not a female. So,
I got it. Okay. I just know if you're
you
tricking
already
me.
said that.
I know if you're tricking me.
But, the thing is just like what I do want you to do in these few minutes that we got left.
Yeah.
Why is it important to support black-owned media, black-owned stations like WHPR TV and other stations that need to get that support? And like you said, if you support black businesses,
yeah, man,
that money recirculates
right
back into the community. But why would you say it's important? Why did you come to WHPR to do this show with me today when you could have been at any of the other media outlets, news outlets, and spend time there? Why is it important for you to come here?
I'm going to answer your second question first because of Miss Willis. When I came in here, she was gracious. She sat in that room right next door, and she was just, she was inspiring to me. And then we did the show, and I had not met you personally like that, but I felt like the connection and the vibe that we were given, the sincerity that you saw in me, I felt the same thing. Then after the show, we came back to this room, and when Rick and I walked out, I'm like, man, we've got to do something with this media market. I'm going to tell you why. Is because everybody focuses on the big bricks. They focus on, as I said, in elections, they focus on the establishment, the big news outlets, the big poll numbers, the big money. No. Winning is done on the streets. It's done brick by brick. And so for me to raise the money, I got to call people up and say, hey, man, will you support the campaign? I'm the fiduciary. That's why we just wrote the check to be, it's not I wish I could do more because more is coming after the primary, but I made it an intention after we left this last time. Rick, we got to raise enough money after we pay our bills to make sure we go back and we invest in WHP. We got to do that because that radio station is reaching people that people like me wouldn't normally tap into. They wouldn't even care. That's what I'm saying is like the whole purpose of this campaign is to break the mold, to rewrite the playbook. And so the money is just an example of where my heart is and the people who believe in me. And that's why we're here, and that's why it's important. There's about 56,000 black-owned businesses in Michigan out of the 900,000. And what are we doing to help support black-owned businesses? From a white dude, I'm asking that question. Well, have somebody who's got a heart for the black community. And that's how you do it, one brick at a time, because I know, just like we said, we invest in you, you're going to invest in people. That ad's going to go to somebody. They're going to feel empowered. They're going to feel motivated. They're going to feel inspired. So they're going to do something great that we won't even know just because of that investment, because somebody invested in me. And that's what makes the world go round.
And see, we appreciate you, advertising with us. And we also extend that invitation to, the other person's running on the other side, say the word again that you got. You don't say opponent. You say what?
Options.
Option.
Yeah, she's an option. Yeah.
So if she would like to come and advertise here, to contact Ms. Willis, and we can, make that happen, at the same time.
And if she does, I'll double mine.
There we go. I love that. But we are so very fortunate to have had you here on the show with us. We want to give you the best wishes from here.
Thank you, my brother.
WHPR TV, on behalf of Watkins Broadcasting. And we hope that you will come back many more times.
You got it.
In the future as either the governor or in the capacity as sheriff
You got
of
it.
Genesee County.
Yeah, God willing,
and,
Governor.
And I do want to let you give these two young men that's in the studio with us a little bit of credit. Rick Michaels, appreciate you with all that you've done. Give your
Mike Tokarczyk, yeah, I'm undersheriff.
Your undersheriff.
Yeah.
Say his name again, because we don't probably
Tokarczyk,
give
yeah,
him enough
Tokarczyk.
credit.
He grew up in Detroit.
Is that right?
Yeah.
What side of town?
He was over in Hamtramck.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Rick, where did you grow up?
E-course.
Oh, okay. Down there with Tidwell.
Listen,
Tidwell,
for sure, man.
Mayor.
When we were out there, we were giving out food in E-course, and Rick made sure that he told everybody that he went to Kennedy, that he's from that area, and we went to the church that Sunday, rocked the house, and Rick was just soaking it all in for sure.
Well,
so
that's great.
He's a street guy right there. Both Mike and Rick are.
Okay. Well, then, like I said, we are so very pleased to have had you on the show. We'd love to have you come back again. And anytime that you're here at WHPR in Highland Park, we always have our doors open to you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
You've been watching a very special edition of Truth to Power. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and hopefully have a great and safe rest of this weekend. Peace.